People Big World cast has changed through the years. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. It's hard to believe that more than 15 years have passed since Little People Big World originally premiered on TLC, introducing us to the Roloff family. Since then, we've seen their family go through so many changes, both good and bad. Matt and Amy's divorce, the kids growing up and getting married, and everything in between. Still, the show is going strong even after all these years, and it's wild to reflect on where the Roloffs were when all of this started. After all, Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob were all still kids living under their mom and dad's roof when the show first began, and now they're all adults, living their own lives, as their parents have started new lives of their own with new partners. And even after everything that has happened over the years, they're still a connected family, and that's what matters most. How has the cast of Little People Big World changed since the series' 2006 premiere? Here's where the Roloffs started, as well as where they are today. When Little People Big World first began, Amy Roloff was married to Matt Roloff, and she was still raising 4 kids who very much needed her. When we were first introduced to her on the show, Amy was a loving mom and teacher who was clearly the one keeping the household running. A lot has changed for Amy since the show began. Not only did she and Matt get divorced, but she's moved off of Roloff Farms and into a home of her own, away from her ex, and she's engaged to boyfriend Chris Merrick. Today, her kids are grown and Amy's become a grandma, and she runs her business, Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen, online. Obviously, Matt was still a married man when the show began, and he was also a dreamer. Roloff Farms didn't look anything like it does today, but he had big plans for it, from growing a pumpkin patch to finally fixing up Molly's castle, even if he didn't have much time to get it all done. Not so much has changed for Matt. His farm is now what he dreamed it would be, and it seems to be constantly growing with all the projects he has planned to make it even better. The greatest joy in Matt's life, though, seems to be being a grandpa, especially to Jackson, who has quickly become his partner in crime. He's also dating Corinne Chandler, whom he met when she was working on the farm. Zach was just a teenager when the show began filming, and TLC ended up capturing a lot of his formative moments, even his first date. Zach was obsessed with soccer and was a sweet kid, even though he did end up butting heads with his twin brother Jeremy a lot. Zach is now 30 years old. Whoa! He's married to Tori Roloff, and they have 2 children together, Jackson and Lila, both of whom inherited their dad's dwarfism. He's poised to follow in Matt's footsteps and take over the farm someday. He still loves soccer, but is now a coach. Zach and his twin, Jeremy, couldn't have possibly been more different, even though they did share their love of soccer. In the early days of LPBW, Jeremy was a typical teenager, attending high school, dating, and figuring himself out, occasionally with a bit of attitude like most teenagers. Today, Jeremy is a 30-year-old adult with a family of his own. He has 2 children, Ember and Bode, and he and his wife, Audrey Roloff, have written a popular book together about their love story called A Love Letter Life. They also host a podcast together on which they encourage other young couples to work at keeping their marriage fresh. 3 years younger than big brothers Zach and Jeremy, Molly is Matt and Amy's middle child and only daughter. While she was on the show, she seemed to love spending time with her mom and wasn't quite as dramatic as her twin brothers were sometimes. Today, Molly is 27 years old and has taken a step back from the spotlight. She's no longer on Little People Big World and stays private on social media, though she does show up from time to time in her family's photos. She's married to Joel Silvius, and she's currently working as a CPA. Jacob Roloff was just a little kid at the start of LPBW, and he was always such a sweetheart. It's no surprise that he did end up leaving the show, though. In 2020, Jacob said he had been sexually abused as a child by a producer on the show. His family rallied around him to show their support. Now that Jacob is all grown up at 24 years old, he's stepped away from the show in the spotlight and instead seems to spend most of his time in nature and with his dogs. He's also married his wife, Isabel Rock. Seems to be the perfect match for him, but no kids yet. When Audrey first appeared on LPBW, she was still really young, and she and Jeremy were just dating. Little did they know that fans would watch them get engaged, and in 2014, they'd end up tying the knot and starting a family together. Unfortunately, they decided they no longer wanted to be on the show. They quit after their first child was born. Today, Audrey is a 29-year-old mother of 2, and she seems happy to work on her business ventures with Jeremy. Anyone who follows her on Instagram knows that her photos are always gorgeous. She's also obsessed with essential oils, which she happens to sell. Tori was also originally introduced on the show as Zach's girlfriend, and we got to see their relationship and eventual marriage play out in front of us. After 4 years of dating, Zach and Tori got engaged in 2014 and were wed the following year at Roloff Farms. At 29 years old, a lot has changed for Tori, and fortunately, she and Zach have decided to stick with sharing their lives on TLC, for now at least. She has since moved on from her career as a teacher and is a stay-at-home mom to both of her kids. She's also a talented photographer.